Hey guys, I want to try to review some horror franchises. I kind of avoided doing it for a while because I feel at this point they're redundant because a lot of people have seen these movies. These movies are popular and a lot of people have reviewed them, and I just don't know what to really say or elaborate on. But one of my few people asked me, and one of my Facebook friends asked me if I could review some, and specifically the Child's Play series, which I'm going to review those too. But of course, I want to start off with the Halloween series, and that one, the first one is the first movie, Halloween, by John Carpenter, was released in 1978. Uh, of course, this is considered one of the first slasher movies, or the movie that would inspire the slasher genre. But there was a book I read called Falling to Pieces, The Rise and Fall of the Slasher Film. And there's also a documentary by the same name, which they said Friday the 13th was actually given the name slasher, slasher, um, because of the tropes, like the gory deaths, the high body count, a bunch of teenagers being killed because they're doing drugs and alcohol and having premarital sex. And there is other movies before Halloween that, and Friday the 13th, that had, they call them proto-slasher films, such as Black Christmas, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Alice Sweet Alice, Driller Killer, stuff like that. This, and this to say, I'm gonna say this too, this was the first movie that got me into slasher films, and really got me into the horror genre more. And I know people will say, "Oh, that's so stereotypical," and blah blah blah, but it is true. Like, I saw Jaws as a kid and it creeped me out. I didn't like it. And The Haunting was really the first movie, the original one, was the one that got me into like ghost films and stuff. But this was the one that got me into slasher films, and it was because it didn't scare me; it intrigued me more than anything. And I'll go over the basic plot because most people already know what this is about. So this is about starts off with a young boy named Michael Myers who kills his older sister back in Halloween in 1963. He's put in a mental institution and placed under the care of Dr. Samuel Loomis, who is trying to keep him there because Michael is showing a lot of violent tendencies. Well, Michael breaks out and returns to Haddonfield and starts stalking these teenage girls who are babysitters, and uh, and starts wreaking havoc in Haddonfield. And then Dr. Loomis has to rush back and try to save the day. Um, of course, this film is not very bloody. It's not bloody, and it relies more on suspense, which I know there's a few people who are not really horror fans and stuff have seen this movie because I love this movie. I used to be obsessed with this franchise, and I used to be obsessed with this movie, and like some friends are like, I don't know why you find this scary. It's not even bloody or gory or anything. The acting's bad, and I'm like, it's not supposed to be like a gore body count fest. It's supposed to be suspenseful because that's what John Carpenter wanted. And of course, the original title for this movie was supposed to be The Babysitter Murders, but they felt that wouldn't be a good marketing ploy because it would probably fall into the obscure exploitation movies. But yeah, but they weren't thinking that this movie was going to blow up and be as big as it was. And I think it is still considered, and at that time, and I think now, is considered one of the best selling independent films, the most that I'm just trying to think of it. The highest grossing independent film. And I can see why. I mean, besides Night of the Living Dead, probably this is probably like the second one. Basically, Halloween is like the Night of the Living Dead for the slasher genre. It really did break the mold for horror at that time. It set up the silent killer with the mask who goes around killing people for no particular reason. Uh, Killing people, which people misinterpret it, but John Carpenter has dismissed this, saying that the teens who are doing drugs and alcohol and having sex were being punished, but John Carpenter says no, it's just they're not paying attention. And even the main character, Lori, who's the final girl, she even smoked a joint in one scene, so he said she's not like that pure or whatever. Some of the scenes I like in this movie, my favorite death is Bob's death, where Bob's in the kitchen rummaging around trying to find beer, and Michael comes up behind him, grabs him around the neck, pulls him up to the wall like this, stabs him right in the chest, and just hangs there. And Michael does that thing. Another cool scene was when Tommy looks out the window and you just see like a shadowy figure standing underneath the tree by where Annie's babysitting at. And like, of course, he's like, Lori, like the kids are like the only ones that can see him for some reason. Besides that one scene where Lori and Annie were walking down the road and Michael was peeping out from behind the bushes, which that's another iconic scene. And I know people say that you can see better on the Blu-ray, that you can see like a camera crew, like a cameraman, and you can see like cigarette smoke flying by, which I did see the cigarette smoke at least. That scene was really, but going back, Tommy sees Michael standing there. It's just he's just a shadowy figure, and of course he calls Lori over, and he's not there. Of course there's a scene where after everything goes down at the end between Michael and Lori thinks she's defeated Michael, and you see Michael laying in the background, and he just sits up like this and turns his head and looks at her. I was like, damn, that's so creepy. The scene, another scene, is, of course the famous scene with another famous line where Michael's dressed up as a ghost, and he has the glasses on, Bob's glasses on, and then Linda says, "What's wrong, Bob? Got your ghost? Someone got your ghost?" I mean, of course, the scene where Michael breaks into the closet where Lori's hiding, she stabs him in the neck, stabs him in the eye with the clothes hanger, and then stabs him in the neck, or stabs him in the chest with a knife. And then she, of course, the one scene where he's jumps up from behind the couch, she stabs him in the neck with a sewing needle. Which that became cool because I have a Halloween mask from Halloween 2, and it has that stab mark right there on the neck. But yeah, I mean, well, I don't really know what else I can say. I mean, I love the soundtrack because John Carpenter does all his own music for his movies. And I mean, it's one of the most iconic horror soundtracks. The cinematography is amazing. And another thing too is like when I got the Blu-ray, I watched it for the first time, and I don't know why, but I recognized that it was very green. Like the leaves were like all green, the grass was really green. And I was like, damn, just like you could tell they filmed this in the summertime or spring. And I know they did. They used fake leaves, painted leaves, and blew them around and stuff, and then would collect them. But like for some reason on the DVD, I didn't really recognize that, and it's just like I kind of like have a good October feel. It's like very like fall feel. Like I don't know, it just seemed like dreary on the DVDs, but on the Blu-ray you could tell like yeah, it was filmed in like in the middle of spring or summer. But yeah, what else can I say? Really, it's a classic. It's a staple of the horror genre. It was, it's the first movie to inspire the slasher genre. Like, yeah, the granddaddy of the slasher genre. Uh, I can't say any more about it. If you're like getting into horror, this is like definitely one of the movies you have to see like how the slasher genre started. And of course, you could go back and watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Black Christmas, or Alice Sweet Alice. But yeah, I mean, another thing I want to say is that I love the Dr. Loomis character. He's my favorite character in the whole series, and that's why I love this movie in the whole series. Donald Pleasance, he has like a slightly crazy feel to him, but he's a very kind and generous man who wants to help people. He really cares about Michael and wants to help him. And he's just like one of those, he's like a mad doctor, but he's not a psychopath. And it's really nice and endearing to see that for a change. Of course, you know, Jamie Lee Curtis, daughter Janet Leigh. This was her first movie, and it's really interesting to see how she became like the screen queen for horror movies for a while, and then became a famous actress nowadays. Kind of like with, you know, Johnny Depp in the first Nightmare on Elm Street, and Kevin Bacon in Friday the 13th. Yeah, like I said, I recommend it, and that's my review.